Hey, Stoney here with another game of Mechabellum. And if you think Melting Point counters Overlords, well, think again. At the bottom here, I am playing as a Giant Specialist with Steel Balls and Arc Lights. I've added 2 more squads of Fangs so that I have a bit of protection as my balls run forward. My opponent is Slin, and he's playing as a Marksman Specialist. This is a 1800 MMR game. And starting off with Tarantulas, Crawlers, and of course one Orange Man, and he added another. I think these guys are very good at dealing with my steel balls. They, especially with the Orange Man, they pop a steel ball per every shot. I didn't want to go with the even board, so I decided to go asymmetrical, so I have a better chance of getting tower, and hopefully once I get tower, I can swing to the other side. Not good for me is that I have put my steel balls on the side of the Orange Man. So as you can see, as my steel balls get forward, the Orange Man is going to lock onto the steel ball and is going to one-shot them. So not the greatest start here. Alright, I got one of the Tarantulas, but my steel balls are now stuck at firing at Fangs and Crawlers at the front, allowing the Orange Man to pick them off. Now, good thing though is that the Orange Man usually doesn't scale against this horde of Fangs, which means I'm just going to run forward and I'm going to power him down with quantity. Alright, I'm going to speed this up. We're going to watch this Tarantula slowly walking over to the tower while the battle is raging on over here at the top. And his fans actually getting both of these marksmen, but that's going to be the end of their parade. Here it is. Big Daddy Tarantula walking in and taking care of business. All right, round 2. Redeployment is an excellent card. A lot of the newer players don't pick that card because they think, hey, why do I want to spend extra resources just so I can move a unit? At high level Mechabellum, especially as the round goes on, you'll start to see some units fall out of favor. What I mean by that is sometimes your opponent might be hard countering a certain unit. Sometimes your opponent might be putting a lot of forces on the other side away from certain units. So whatever it is, if you continue to keep that unit on the board, you're not being efficient with your resources. Most of the time, you can always just click on the field recovery and then sell the unit and then bring something that's a bit better. But the redeployment allows you to adjust units that's already on the board. And it could be very good later on, especially you want to adjust the positioning of certain chaff units so that they can now protect some other units. Right, so for example, right now my fans, both of my fans, they're fairly close to the tower. But if I want to lengthen my chaff line by having the fans further up and putting a giant somewhere there, if I don't have redeployment, I have to sell a squad of fans or I have to buy new fans. But with redeployment, I don't have to waste any of that and I can just shift my fans up maybe 4 squares. So very useful tool. I encourage, especially if you're new to the game, to take that tool, even if you don't always use it all the time, but just by taking it and forcing you to look at the board critically and think about the positioning of your units is a good thing. All right, we're getting into round 3. We got unit drops here. Fortress makes a lot of sense for me. I think right now, my problem is I don't have enough meat at the front of my army. Once these steel balls die, these tarantulas can just go to town with the rest of my board. Rhino was taken, but I think I'm going to sell this Rhino. My opponent took the Scorpion, a very logical choice because he wants to deal with my balls very quickly. All right, so the Rhino. No units down yet. And my opponent is just going to go with a line of units right here. I do have a flank that's coming in on the left-hand side. And now you can see with the redeployment, once I know that my opponent start putting down arc lights for that flank, I can move that unit, now level 2, somewhere else. Right? Without that redeployment, you have to get that by selling the unit. And sometimes you don't want to, because these are level 2, right? All right, the strategy is going to be triple Wasp, preying on my opponent's lack of anti-air. So right now the only anti-air are these 2 fangs, and then it's just these 2 marksmen. So Wasp should do decent against his board, because right now I don't have a solid answer for his board just yet. I know eventually I want to go Fortress, but I don't want to go Fortress right now. I want to just throw him for a loop, right? I want to bait something that he doesn't necessarily need in the later rounds. Maybe Mustangs. And here's my Wasp flanking aim from the side, getting the tower, and now getting onto these units. Now, a problem with level 1 Wasp is that they don't do a lot of damage against things like Tarantula or level 2 Scorpions. They simply aren't getting through that thick armor. They're taking forever to get to them. Yes, there's only 1 marksman. There's a little bit of fangs that's coming to support, but without getting the enough damage, yeah, that's not good. So my Wasp switch or Wasp bait failed spectacularly. But let's see if it still does the job of baiting my opponents to go with heavy Mustangs, because I like them to go with Mustangs. I think there's 4 to 5 Mustangs. I like them to go with Mustangs because once I get forts and I already have arc lights, I can just level up these arc lights with range and they become really good with chaff clear. Steel balls are excellent against Mustangs once they take armor, and then my fortress can just bombard everything from afar. So it is a bit of a weird composition, but it is something that is playable. Okay, so what does my opponent do now that I've seen 3 squads of Wasp? And again, you know, with the redeployment, I was able to move that Wasp out of the way. And it is indeed going to be Mustangs. All right, pretty good, pretty good. Now my Wasp continue to stay just for a bit longer, because level 2 Wasp are actually decent against level 1 Mustangs. And I have 2 of them leveled up, and they will stay that way until my opponent decided to hit anti-air on the Mustangs. I would love for him to waste 300 supplies on this, because I am not going air at all. All right, so let's speed this up a little bit. We're going to get range on the arc light in anticipation for those Mustangs. All right, so we're gonna watch the armies clash, and as you can see here, level 2 Wasp, they're doing okay against those Mustangs. All right, left hand side is doing great. We're gonna win. And right hand side is also not doing too bad either. I mean, sure, there's this shield that's super annoying, but it looks like I'm going to get tower. And with tower, I'm gonna scoop over. Hopefully get that orange man before they get my tower. And there it is. And I think that's the end of that. Yep. So got 2 very beefy units at the front. Alright, not great. Be taking damage along the way, but yeah. Alright, improved fire control. That's going to go on to a Mustang for sure. The Mustang is going to get ranged. For me, I decided to add some Stormcrawlers. I was going to go Fortress, but now looking at the board here, I feel like if it makes sense to just go with Melting Points. He does have several large units, and a Fortress might be a little too late, especially with the Scorpions on the board. He could just easily take range, and now the Fortress aren't doing too much. Melting Points kind of serve as the in-between, so it does the damage of the Fortress without the commitment of the Fortress, and they're decently well against Mustangs, and later on you can get fire, and it will help a lot with chaff clear. Here I'm using the redeployment again, shifting this squad of fans a little bit forward to provide more cover for this Melting Point, and also more cover for my arc light. I am keeping the balls because now they're with suck. They can actually tank quite a bit, and they provide a nice shield for my Wasp, which are doing decent damage. I sold the one in the right hand side because the Mustangs with the shield bubble was just too much for me to handle. But on the left hand side, these Wasps are still delivering a ton of value. Alright, so we got Stormcrawlers. They're doing great, and allowing my balls to really get in there and do the damage. But we do have a bit of a crawler problem coming in here. Let's see if I can get the tower before he does. Yep, And that just means I got more rockets on the shield bubble, and once the shield bubbles are gone, my Wasp can go to work. It is a very decent engagement because now I have a lot of level 2 Wasps left over. Sure, they got some fans on the ground. But I do have Arclight shooting from afar, and that is going to help me win this round. Now, as you can see from the last round, I am having a heck of a difficult time just getting through that thick armor of these units, right? So I needed some way to respond. A level 2 fortress drop was dropped, which was very interesting. My opponent decided to take Overlord, which is also very interesting. Alright, if you give me level 2 fortress, I think I will take level 2 fortress even if it's just temporary. So I took level 2 fortress, added even more steel balls, realizing that my opponent doesn't have a lot of scorpions on the field. So as long as I have more scorpion than he does, I have more balls than he does scorpions, I should be doing okay. The boats, though, they're going to be a little problematic. We got a single level 2 boat on the side with range. That's going to do a lot of damage here. All right, we got another boat on the other side. Okay, so here's the prediction. This fortress is not going to live very long. It's going to take all the damage, but the good thing is the scorpion is gone, which means my steel balls are now in and they're doing work. And with the scorpions gone, my steel balls can then come in and maybe run in towards the tower. And hopefully my level 2 Wasp can take down these Stormcaller, maybe? Seems like they are turning around. Ooh, and with the tower debuff, it looks like the level 2 Wasp are going to get the job done. Looking on the other side of the board, we have the level 2 Overlord with nothing to contest them. The steel balls now with range are doing a lot better against the Scorpions. And now it's just a matter of can my level 2 Wasp bring down this Overlord. Come on, guys. Let's walk forward. Let's tank them. Let's tank all the shots. And there we go. It did bring it down. Now, with Overlords and with range, it's a telltale sign that my opponent is going to go pretty hard into the Overlords. Lots of good cards. Absorption module is really good on things like a Fortress. My opponent decided to take a shield drop, and also he's getting items for his Mustangs. Melting point goes down just to nib it in the butt in case my opponent goes really hard into Overlords. Melting point with range actually does not as well as you think against Overlords with range. So Overlord with range is 150, melting point is 170. But here's the thing, Overlords move at 10 meters per second, so it only takes 2 seconds for these Overlords to get in range of the melting point. And in which case, then you're kind of in this uphill battle, right? So because Overlords do decent damage against the melting point. And if they have more Overlords, in this case they got 2 here and 2 on the other side, you're gonna be in a bit of a trouble. But right now I'm feeling confident about my board, mostly because I have superior chaff, and also I have these steel balls, which are doing a lot of tanking and a lot of damage. Alright, we're going to look at the right-hand side here first. Actually, let me just zoom out a little bit so I can see the entire board here. Okay. Right-hand side, we're dealing with chaff. That's to be expected. Arc lights are great. I probably should add one more arc light here on the left-hand side, but nah, not too bad. Steel balls are getting in. They're doing the damage it needs. And on the left-hand side, I think the chaff is almost clear. That means melting point is going to lock onto the first target. It's going to be this level 2 Overlord. Good choice. Getting rid of that, getting onto the other target. Tower goes down, melting point on target. And we're even going to get the AM device. That's a really big round for me. Nice. 2 melting point left over. A bunch of HP loss for my opponent. This is really, really good. Alright, we're going to get into round 8 here. Unit drop. Vulcan makes sense. I noticed there was some weakness with my chaff clear, so Vulcan makes sense. I initially wanted to have the Vulcan here on the line because all of my opponent's units are here very back. So if I can throw down a firebomb that covers this area and another firebomb that covers this area, and then I won the game. I was a little worried because my opponent is an 1800 MMR player, so normally when you see Vulcan, your natural instinct will be to put units right here in the front line to prevent firebomb from happening. So I didn't want to do that. I chose the more flexible approach of getting range on this Vulcan. They will still contribute to a lot of chaff clear without the risk of being directly countered by units on the line with a firebomb. All right, so we have Vulcan on the board. I've added even more chaff on the back line here. And then I added oil on the other side. My opponent decided to add Mothership. This is a great way of countering Melting Point, especially if you're already outnumbering your boats to Melting Point. These additional flyers are just going to make my Melting Point that much slower when it comes to killing your Overlords. Alright, first Overlord being targeted. Tower goes down. Lots of Melting Point being left over. However, we do have quite a bit of Wasp. But the good thing with that is I have Fangs. And these late arriving Fangs, they're doing absolute wonders. And with that, I think that's going to be GG. Alright, and I hope you enjoyed this game, and if you liked the video, please subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.
Prepare your tactics, Mechabellum's calling. Deploy your fortress, the battlefield's alive with swarms.